Good evening, everyone. My name is Davyn Walsh. I am stepping in for the role of director for tonight's show. Valerie is on a vacation for this month, and so she's asked me to step up and direct tonight's show, which is Clue, in case you didn't figure that much out. Sorry, this is my first time at the helm, so to speak, so I'm not very used to this whole thing. I think we're going to have a very special show tonight. I've got a bunch of people here some people are new to the to the group, and some people are not so new to the group. And what's really great is that we've got one of my favorite shows to do tonight. We've got a cult classic, so to speak. It's, starring Tim Curry, Martin Ball, Madeline Kahn, Michael McKean, Leslie Ann Warren, Christopher Lloyd, and Eileen Brennan. It's loosely based off of the board game, but mostly based off of just absolute shenanigans. And I hope that tonight we can share a little bit of those shenanigans with you. So I think without further ado, I would like to present to you Clue.
Clue. Exterior, Wadsworth's car. Twilight. Wadsworth's car travels through the wind of an oncoming storm. It pulls up to the gate of Hill House. Hill House is a large, imposing mansion looking very New England. Wadsworth takes out a key and unlocks the gate. He drives up the car up to the front door. Exterior, Hill House, front door. Wadsworth exits the car, holding a bag and looking at the barking guard dogs. Dogs approach Wadsworth, then jump. Wadsworth quickly pulls a big beef bone out of the bag and hurls it to them. The dogs trot away to gnaw on the bones as Wadsworth rolls up the bag. Wadsworth clenches their chain so it won't allow them to reach the door. He steps towards the door and sniffs. Wadsworth pauses and checks the bottom of his feet. Dog crap. He looks in disgust at the dogs, who aren't bothered at all. Interior, ground floor, the hall. The hall of Hill House is remarkable, elegant, but not gaudy. It is furnished in dark wood and brass with crystal chandeliers. There are several doors on each side of the hall and 3 at the end. To the left, lounge and dining room. To the right, study, library, and billiard room. To the end, conservatory, ballroom, bathroom, and kitchen. The stairs are located to the right. By the staircase is the door to the basement steps. We hear shake, rattle, and roll in the background. Wadsworth opens the front door of Hill House and wipes off his foot. He enters and hangs up his coat. Superimposed, New England, 1954. Wadsworth steps briskly down the hall, steps towards the library. Interior, ground floor, library. The library is a somewhat more comfortable room than the hall, composed of dark colors. All of the walls are covered with books, with the exception of one wall, a window. Yvette, a young and rather jiggly French maid, is polishing a glass. The music is much louder. Wadsworth enters and turns off the record player. The music stops.
Is everything ready?
Oui, monsieur.
You have your instructions.
Interior, ground floor, kitchen. The kitchen is white tile, narrow. There is a meat freezer to the right. The counter leads off to the left. Mrs. Ho, the cook, is sharpening a knife. Joseph McCarthy is speaking on the television in the background. Wadsworth enters.
Is everything all right, Mrs. Ho?
Dinner will be ready at 7:30.
The doorbell rings. Wadsworth exits the kitchen. Exterior, Hill House, front door, night. A man is standing by the front door, being growled at by the dogs. He is not comfortable. Interior, ground floor of the hall. Wadsworth opens the door.
Good evening.
Good evening. I don't know.
Yes, indeed, sir. You are expected, Colonel. May I take your coat? It is Colonel Mustard, isn't it?
No, that's not my name. My name is Colonel...
Sir, but tonight you may well feel obliged to my employer for the use of an alias.
And who are you, sir?
I'm Wadsworth, sir. The butler.
Interior, ground floor, library. Yvette is present.
Yvette, you will attend to the Colonel and give him anything he requires. Within reason, that is.
Wadsworth exits, closing the door behind him. The doors have books on the back of them, and so look like part of the wall.
Oh, Wadsworth, I was...
The bell rings. Exterior, Hill House, front door. A woman dressed in black stands there. Wadsworth opens the door. Interior, ground floor of the hall.
Do come in, madam. You are expected.
Do you know who I am?
Only that you are to be known as Mrs. White.
Yes, it said so in the letter, but why?
Interior, ground floor, library. Yvette and Colonel Mustard are here. Mustard is sipping cognac and glancing at Yvette. The door is open, the left one, into Colonel Mustard.
Ah, may I introduce you? Mrs. White, this is Yvette, the maid. I see you two know each other.
Mrs. White turns away as Colonel Mustard emerges from behind the door.
Hello.
Hello.
Exterior, roadside. A slim woman is standing by her broken-down car. An owl can be heard. She hits the car, obviously frustrated. Thunder roars in the distance. The woman sees headlights a short way away. She smooths her dress. As the car nears, she bends over the engine and lifts a leg. The car screeches to a halt just past her and backs up. The woman goes to the car and peers in.
Yes, I do want a lift.
She gets in. Interior, man's car. I believe man is Mr. Green, by the way, Mr. Green.
Thanks, I'm late for a dinner date.
Hang on a second.
Or it might be Professor Plum, actually. Yeah, it's Professor Plum. Yeah. Me too. Where are you going?
Let's see. Hill House, off Route 41.
In a minute, let me look at that. That's where I'm going. I got a letter like this. Exterior car. The rain has started. The windshield wipers start as the car pulls away. Interior, ground floor, library. We see a middle-aged woman.
And this is Mrs. Peacock.
Oh, all right. How do you do?
Yvette, will you go and check that dinner will be ready as soon as all the guests have arrived?
The doorbell rings. Exterior, Hill House, front door. It is now raining quite hard. A man is standing at the door, much like Colonel Mustard was. The dog, of course, are growling. Wadsworth opens the door. Is this the right address?
Is this the right address to meet Mr. Body?
Oh, you must be Mr. Green.
Yes.
Sit! No, not you, sir.
Interior, man's car.
That must be it.
Exterior, Hill House. View from the front grate. Lightning crashes, illuminating the house. Interior, man's car.
Well, the car has stopped because it's frightened.
Exterior, Hill House, front gate. The car has started again and it rolls up the driveway. Interior, ground floor, library. Lightning crashes, making Mr. Green gulp. Exterior, Hill House, front driveway. The man and woman exit their car and run for the front door. The man shields the woman from the now heavy rain.
What a godforsaken place.
He squeezes one of the woman's buttocks. She shakes his hand off, looking disgusted. The door opens, revealing Wadsworth.
Professor Plum. And Miss Scarlet. I didn't realize you were acquainted.
We weren't.
Interior, ground floor, library. The doors open to reveal Professor Plum and Miss Scarlet.
May I present Professor Plum and Miss Scarlet?
Nods all around. Plum and Scarlet receive wine glasses from Yvette, whom Plum eyes. Professor Plum clinks glasses with Miss Scarlet, who looks annoyed.
Of course, since you've each been addressed by a pseudonym, you've realized that nobody here is being addressed by their real name.
Interior, ground floor, the hall. Mrs. Ho bangs a gong once, fiercely. Interior, library. The gong is heard a second time. Mr. Green jumps at the sound, dumping his champagne on Mrs. Peacock.
Ah, dinner.
I'm so sorry. I'm a little accident prone.
Interior, ground floor, the hall. The guests cross to the dining room. Interior, ground floor, dining room. The dining room is elegant in similar decor to the hall, but it is somewhat more comfortable. However, the room is still small. At one end, there is a door and a metal partition, both leading to the kitchen. The guests file in.
You'll find your names besides your places. Please be seated.
The guests, except for Colonel Mustard, find their places and sit. Wadsworth sets Miss Scarlet's drink on the table to her pleasure.
Is this place for you?
Oh, indeed, no, sir. I'm merely a humble butler.
And what exactly do you do?
I buttle, sir.
Which means what?
The butler is head of the kitchen and dining room. I keep everything tidy. That's
Colonel
all.
Wooster attempts to continue, but is interrupted by Mrs. Peacock.
Well, what's all this about, Butler? This dinner party?
Ours is not to reason why. Ours is but to do and die.
I?
Merely quoting, sir, from Alfred, Lord Tennyson.
I prefer Kipling myself. The female of the species is more deadly than the male. You like Kipling, Miss Scarlet?
Sure, I'll eat anything.
Yvette enters carrying a tray.
Shark's fin soup, madame.
So is this for our host?
No, sir. For the seventh guest, Mr. Body.
I thought Mr. Body was our host.
So did I.
Yeah, sort of.
So, who is our host, Mr. Wadsworth?
Well, I want to start while it's still hot.
Oh, now shouldn't we wait for the other guest?
No, we'll keep something warm for him.
What did you have in mind, dear?
Well, somebody's got to break the ice, and it might as well be me. I mean, I'm used to being a hostess. It's part of my husband's work. And it's anyways always difficult to get together with a new group of friends when they meet together for the first time to get acquainted. So I'm perfectly prepared to get the ball rolling. I mean, I have absolutely no idea what we're doing here or what I'm doing here or what this place is all about, but I am determined to enjoy myself, and I'm very intrigued. And oh my, the soup's delicious, isn't it?
You say you're used to being a hostess as part of your husband's work?
Well, yes, it's an integral part of your life when you're the wife of a... Oh, but I forgot. We're not supposed to say who we really are. Though, heavens to Betsy, I don't know why.
Don't you?
I know who you are.
How do you know who I am?
I work in Washington, too.
Oh, so you're a politician's wife.
Yes, I am.
Well, come on then. Who's your husband?
Suddenly, Wadsworth opens the door from the kitchen.
So, what does your husband do?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Well, he just lies around on his back all day.
Sounds like hard work to me.
Yvette in the kitchen opens the partition suddenly. The noise coincides with a crash of thunder. Mr. Green, jumpy as ever, spills his drink again, this time on Miss Scarlet.
I'm so sorry. I'm afraid I'm a little accident prone.
Watch it.
Excusez-moi.
This is one of my favorite recipes.
I know, madam.
So, what do you do in Washington, D.C., Mr. Green? Come on, what do you do? I mean, how are we to get acquainted if we don't say anything about ourselves?
Perhaps he doesn't want to get acquainted with you.
Well, I'm sure I don't know. But if I wasn't trying to keep the conversation going, then we would just be sitting here in an embarrassed silence.
Are you afraid of silence, Mrs. Peacock?
Yes. What? No. Why?
Oh, it just seems to me you seem to suffer from what we call pressure of speech.
We? Who's we? Are you a shrink?
I do know a little about psychological medicine, yes.
Are you a doctor?
I am, but I don't practice.
Practice makes perfect. I think most men need a little practice, don't you, Mrs. Peacock?
So, what do you do, Professor?
I work for UNO, the United Nations organization.
Another politician.
Jesus. No, I work for a branch of UNO, WHO, the World Health Organization.
Well, what's your area of special concern?
Family planning. What about you, Colonel? Are you a real colonel?
I am, sir.
You're not going to mention the coincidence that you also live in Washington, D.C.?
How did you know that? Have we met before?
I've certainly seen you before, although you may not have seen me.
So, Miss Scarlett, does that mean you live in Washington too?
Sure do.
Does anyone here not live in Washington, D.C.?
I don't.
Yes, but you work in the United Nations. That's a government job. And the rest of us live in a government town. Anyone not here earn their living from the government in one way or another?
Wadsworth, where's our host? And why have we been brought here?
The doorbell rings. Wadsworth exits. We hear the door opening and Wadsworth speaks.
Ah, good evening. You are eagerly awaited.
You locking me in? I'll take the key.
Over my dead body, sir. May I take your bag?
No. I'll leave it here till I need it.
It contains evidence, I presume?
Surprises, my friend. That's what it contains. Surprises.
Wadsworth enters the living room, followed by the man.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Mr. Body?
What are they all doing here?
Eating dinner. Do sit down, Mr. Body.
Thanks. Now you can take that away, honey.
Look, I demand to know what's going on now. Why have we all been dragged up to this horrible place?
Well, I believe we all received a letter. My letter says, it will be to your advantage to be present on this date because a Mr. Body will bring to an end a certain long-standing, confidential, and painful financial liability. It is signed a friend.
I received a similar letter.
So did we, didn't we?
I also received a letter. No thanks, Yvette. I just ate.
Now, how did you know her name?
We know each other. Don't we, dear?
Forgive my curiosity, Mr. Body, but did your letter say the same thing?
No.
I see. Can I interest any of you in fruit or dessert? In that case, may I suggest we adjourn to the study for coffee and brandy, at which point I believe our unknown host will reveal his intentions.
Interior, ground floor of the study. The study is by far the most comfortable room we've seen so far. It is decorated in subdued tan colors. There are several couches, a bookshelf, a table with drinks, and a desk. The guests enter and look around for their host.
Well, there's no one here.
Please help yourself to brandy and be seated.
Wadsworth goes to the desk and takes a manila envelope. It reads, for Wadsworth, open after dinner.
Mind if I smoke?
Wadsworth opens the envelope. He peruses the contents.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm instructed to you what you all have in common with each other, unless you would care to do the honors, Mr. Body.
Why me? They know who I am?
I don't think so. You've never identified yourself to them, I believe.
It's a hoax. I suggest we all leave.
I'm sorry, sir, you cannot leave this house.
Interior, ground floor of the hall. Mr. Body goes to the front door. Wadsworth follows, and he is followed by the other guests.
No? Who's going to stop me?
There's no way out. All the windows have bars, all the doors are locked.
This is an outrage. You can't hold us prisoner.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, please return to the study. Everything will be explained.
The guests file unhappily back into the study. Mr. Body walks past Wadsworth towards the rear of the hall.
You too, Mr. Body.
Body starts running.
Other way!
He pursues Mr. Body. Interior, ground floor, conservatory. The conservatory is humid with plants all around. 3 of the walls are brick and the 4th is glass, leading to the outside. The rain can be heard and seen against the glass. Mr. Body runs in, picks up a brick, and prepares to throw it through the glass. Wadsworth enters.
You can't get out that way.
Why not? It's only glass.
Suddenly, a vicious Doberman jumps at the glass, barking and snarling. Body drops the brick. Interior, ground floor, the study. The guests are already present. Wadsworth and Mr. Body enter. Wadsworth takes up the envelope again.
Ladies and gentlemen, you all have one thing in common. You're all being blackmailed. For some considerable time, all of you have been paying what you can afford and, in some cases, more than you can afford, to someone who threatens to expose you. And none of you know who's blackmailing you, do you?
Oh, please. I've never heard anything so ridiculous. I mean, nobody could blackmail me. My life is an open book. I've never done anything wrong.
Anybody else wish to deny it? Very well. As everyone here is in the same boat, there's no harm in my revealing some details, and my instructions are to do so. Thank you, Yvette.
The maid, so dismissed, leaves. Mr. Body's eyes follow her out.
Don't you think you might spare us this humiliation?
I'm sorry. Professor Plum, you were once a professor of psychiatry, specializing in helping paranoid and homicidal lunatics suffering from delusions of grandeur.
Yes, but now I work for the United Nations.
So your work has not changed. But you don't practice medicine at the UN. His license to practice has been lifted, correct?
Why? What did he do?
You know what doctors aren't allowed to do with their lady patients?
Yeah.
Well, he did.
Ha!
Oh, how disgusting.
Are you making moral judgments, Mrs. Peacock? How then do you justify taking bribes in return for delivering your husband, Senator Peacock's vote, to certain lobbyists?
My husband is a paid consultant. There's nothing wrong with that.
Not if it's publicly declared, perhaps. But if the payment is delivered by slipping used greenbacks in plain envelopes under the door of the men's room, how would you describe that transaction?
I'd say it stinks.
Well, how would you know? When were you in that men's room?
So it's true.
No, it's a vicious lie.
I'm sure we're all glad to hear that. So you've been paying blackmail for over a year now to keep that story out of the papers.
Well, I am willing to believe you. I, too, am being blackmailed for something I didn't do.
Me too.
And me.
Not me.
You're not being blackmailed?
Oh, I'm being blackmailed, all right, but I did what I'm being blackmailed for.
What did you do?
Well, to be perfectly frank, I run a specialized hotel and a telephone service which provides gentlemen with the company of a young lady for a short while.
Oh, yeah? What's the phone number?
So, how did you know Colonel Mustard works in Washington? Is he one of your clients?
Certainly not.
I was asking Miss Scarlett.
Well, you tell him it's not true.
It's not true.
Is that true?
No, it's not true.
Ha ha! So it is true.
A double negative.
Double negative? You mean you have photographs?
That sounds like a confession to me. In fact, the double negative is there to prove positive. I'm afraid you gave yourself away.
Are you trying to make me look stupid in front of the other guests?
You don't need any of my help for that, sir.
That's right.
But seriously, I don't see what's so terrible about Colonel Mustard visiting a house of ill fame. Most soldiers do, don't they?
Oh, please.
But he holds a sensitive security post in the Pentagon. And, Colonel, you drive a very expensive car for someone who lives on a colonel's pay.
I don't. I came into money during the war, when I lost my mommy and daddy.
Mrs. White, you've been paying our friend the blackmailer ever since your husband died under, shall we say, mysterious circumstances.
Why is that funny?
I see. That's why he was lying on his back in his coffin.
I didn't kill him.
And why are you paying the blackmailer?
I don't want a scandal, do I? We had a very humiliating public confrontation. He was deranged, lunatic. He didn't actually seem to like me very much. He had threatened to kill me in public.
Why would he want to kill you in public?
I think she meant he threatened in public to kill her.
Oh, and was that his final word on the matter?
Being killed is pretty final, wouldn't you say?
And yet he was the one who died, not you, Mrs. White, not you.
What did he do for a living?
He was a scientist. Nuclear physics.
What was he like?
He was always a rather stupidly optimistic man. I mean, I'm afraid it came as a great shock to him when he died. But he was found at home. His head had been cut off, and so had his, I had been out all evening at the movies.
Do you miss him?
Well, it's a matter of life after death. Now that he's dead, I have a life.
But he was your second husband. Your first husband also disappeared.
But that was his job. He was an illusionist.
But he never reappeared.
He wasn't a very good illusionist.
I have something to say. I'm not going to wait for Wadsworth here to unmask me. I work for the State Department, and I am a homosexual. I have no shame or personal guilt about it, but I must keep it a secret or I will lose my job on security grounds. Thank you.
Well, that just leaves Mr. Body.
What's your little secret?
His secret? Haven't you guessed? He's the one who's blackmailing you all.
Lightning crashes. Mr. Body looks very satisfied.
You bastard!
Guests advance on Mr. Body as he stands. Colonel Mustard challenges Mr. Body to a fight boxing style.
Put him up!
Mr. Body steps on the Colonel's toes and pokes him in the eyes.
Go!
Oh, man.
If you can't fight fairly, then don't fight at all!
Calls me a bastard?
Mr. Green and the others try to separate them as Colonel Mustard recovers and Mr. Body goes for him. Mrs. White decides to take matters into her own hands and knees Mr. Body in the crotch.
Is that really necessary, Mrs. White?
Wait! The police are coming! Listen! Blackmail depends on secrecy. You've all admitted how he's been able to blackmail you. All you have to do is tell the police he'll be convicted and your troubles will be over.
It's not so easy. You'll never tell the police.
Then I shall. I have evidence in my possession, and this conversation is being tape recorded.
Interior, ground floor, billiard room. Yvette is in the billiard room, drinking cognac and listening to a tape recorder that is recording.
Point of order, tape recordings are not admissible evidence.
Interior, ground floor, the study. General confusion ensues.
Ladies and gentlemen, the police will be here in about 45 minutes. Tell them the truth, and Mr. Body will be behind bars.
Mr. Body goes for the hall. Wadsworth stops him.
Where are you going this time?
I think I can help them make up their minds. Can I just get my little bag from the hall?
Interior, ground floor, the hall. Mr. Body gets his bags from the front door. Interior, ground floor, the study. Mr. Body opens his luggage.
Who can guess what's in here, eh?
The evidence against us, no doubt.
Mr. Body starts handing out boxes, each with a different size and shape.
We didn't know we were meeting you tonight. Did you know you were meeting us?
Oh, yes.
What were you told, precisely?
Merely that you were all meeting to discuss our little financial arrangements. And if I did not appear, Wadsworth would be informing the police about it all. Naturally, I could hardly resist putting in an appearance. Excuse me? Open them.
Why not? I enjoy getting presents from strange men.
Charlotte opens her package, a candlestick.
Candlestick? What's this for?
Mrs. White opens her box and reveals a rope tied in a noose. Mr. Green takes his box in one hand. He opens it and lets the contents fall into his other hand, a bent lead pipe. Colonel Mustard opens his box and pulls out a heavy wrench. Professor Plum takes the lid off his package and looks in. He gingerly pulls out a revolver. Finally, the camera reveals Mrs. Peacock, who is twirling a dagger.
In your hands, you each have a lethal weapon.
Mr. Body walks on camera and continues.
If you denounce me to the police, you will also be exposed and humiliated. I'll see to that in court. But if one of you kills Wadsworth now, no one but the seven of us will ever even know. He has the key to the front door, which he said would be opened only over his dead body. I suggest we take him up on that offer.
Mr. Body goes over to the light switch with deliberate ease. He closes the door to the hall and sets his drink down.
The only way to avoid finding yourselves on the front pages is for one of you to kill Wadsworth. Now.
He turns off the light. We hear noises. Someone inhales raspily. A gunshot. Something ceramic shatters. A scream. The light goes up. Mrs. Peacock, who turned on the light, drops the dagger in shock. Mr. Body is revealed, lying prone on the floor.
It's not Wadsworth!
Stand back. Give him air. Let me see. He's dead.
Who had the gun?
I did.
Then you shot him.
I didn't.
Well, you had the gun. You didn't shoot him. Who did?
Nobody. Look, there's no gunshot wound. Somebody tried to grab the gun from me in the dark, and the gun went off. Look, the bullet broke the vase on the mantle.
Everyone rushes for the mantle simultaneously, causing confusion.
He's absolutely right. Look, there's the bullet hole here in the wall. See that?
And how did he die?
I don't know. I'm not a forensic expert.
Well, one of us must have killed him.
Oh, I didn't do it.
Oh, I need a drink.
She goes to the door and gets Mr. Body's cognac. She sips.
Maybe he was poisoned.
Mrs. Peacock drops the glass in revulsion and starts to scream. She starts to scream. She won't stop. Mr. Green takes her to a sofa, offering words of comfort. She sits, but won't stop screaming. Mr. Green slaps her.
I had to stop her from screaming.
Was the brandy poisoned?
I don't know.
Looks like we'll never know.
Unless she dies too.
They all rush over to scrutinize Mrs. Peacock. A scream erupts from another room. The guests gasp. They run from the study into the hall. Interior, ground floor, the hall. The guests run to the door of the billiard room. Mr. Green tries it.
It's locked.
Open up!
It must be the murderer.
And why would he scream?
He must have a victim in there. Oh my God, Yvette!
Oh my God!
The doors open. Interior, ground floor, billiard room. The guests pour in.
You're alive.
No thanks to you.
What do you mean?
You locked me up in here with murder, you idiot.
So the murderer is in this room.
My oui?
But where?
Where? Here.
Mr. Green looks behind the door.
We are looking at him, or is what Mrs. White said in his study. One of you is the killer.
How did you know we said that?
I was listening.
But why were you screaming in here all by yourself?
Because I am frightened. Me too, I also drink the cognac. Montoy, I can't stay in here by myself.
Miss Scarlet and Colonel Mustard go to Yvette.
Come back to the study with us.
It was the murderer.
There's safety in numbers, my dear.
The guests leave the room. After they are gone, Wadsworth takes the tape off the spools. Interior, ground floor, the study.
Is there no indication of how he died?
No.
This is terrible. This is absolutely terrible. This is not what I intended. Oh, my God.
Not what you intended.
So you're not the butler?
I'm not the butler, but I am a butler. In fact, I was his butler.
So if he told you to invite us all to his house, why did he arrive late?
I invited you. In fact, I wrote the letters. It was all my idea.
Wait a minute. I don't understand. Why did you invite us here to meet your late employer? Were you assisting him in blackmailing us?
Certainly not.
I think you had better explain.
Please sit down, everyone.
Everyone sits but Mr. Green. He searches for a spot, but no one gives it to him. He ends up leaning against the serving table.
When I said that I was Mr. Body's butler, that was both true and misleading. I was once his butler, but it was not his untimely death this evening that brought my employment with him to an end.
When did it come to an end?
When my wife decided to end her life. She too was being blackmailed by this odious man who now lies dead before us. He hated my wife for the same reason that he hated all of you. He believed that all of you were thoroughly un-American.
Mr. Green's serving table gives way, landing him and several pieces of crystal on the floor.
Sorry.
For some reason, he felt that it was inappropriate for a senator to have a corrupt wife, for a doctor to take advantage of his patients, for a wife to emasculate her husband, and so forth.
But this is ridiculous. If he was such a patriotic American, why didn't he just appoint us to the authorities?
He decided to put his information to good use and make a little money out of it. What could be more American than that?
And what was your role in all of this?
I was a victim too. At least my wife was. She had friends who were socialists. Well, We all make mistakes. But Mr. Body threatened to give my wife's name to the House Un-American Activities Committee unless she named them. She refused, and so he blackmailed her. We had no money, and the price of his silence was that we worked for him for nothing. We were slaves. Well, to make a long story short,
Too late.
the suicide of my wife preyed upon my mind and created a sense of injustice in me. I resolved to put Mr. Body behind bars. It seemed to be the best way to do it, and to free all of you from the same burden of blackmail, was to get everyone face to face, confront Mr. Body with his crimes, and then turn him over to the police.
So, everything is explained.
Nothing's explained. We still don't know who killed him.
Well, the point is, we've got to find out in the next 39 minutes before the police arrive.
Oh my God, we can't have them come here now.
But how can we possibly find out which one of you did it?
What do you mean, which one of you did it?
Oh, I didn't do it.
Well, one of us did. We all had the opportunity. We all had a motive.
Great, we'll all go to the chair.
Maybe it wasn't one of us.
Well, who else could it have been?
Who else is in this house?
Only the cook.
His book?
The cook!
Interior, ground floor, the hall. The party runs from the study to the kitchen. Interior, ground floor, kitchen. They all get stuck in the door except for Mr. Green. He steps down into the kitchen and looks around.
Well, he's not here.
The door to the freezer starts to open. Miss Scarlet screams. The cook's body tumbles out into Mr. Green's arms. She now has a dagger sticking out of her back.
I didn't do it. Somebody help me, please. Somebody help me, please.
Several guests go to help. One of them reaches for the knife.
Don't touch it. That's evidence.
Not for us. We have to find out who did this. We can't take fingerprints.
I think you better explain yourself, Wadsworth.
Me? Why me?
Who would want to kill the cook?
The dinner wasn't that bad.
How can you make jokes at a time like this?
It's my defense mechanism.
Some defense. If I was the killer, I would kill you next.
Oh?
I said if. Hey, come on. There's only one admitted killer here, and it certainly is not me. It is her.
He points at Mrs. White.
I've admitted nothing.
Well, you paid the blackmail. How many husbands have you had?
Mine or other women's?
Yours.
5.
5.
Yes, just the 5. Husbands should be like Kleenex. Soft, strong, and disposable.
You lure men to their deaths just like a spider with flies.
Flies are where men are most vulnerable.
Right. Well, if it wasn't you, then who was it? Who had the dagger anyway? It was you, Mrs. Peacock, wasn't it?
But I put it down.
Where?
In the study.
When?
I don't know. Before I fainted, after I fainted, I don't know. But any of you could have picked it up.
Look, I suggest we take the cook's body back into the study.
Why?
I'm the butler. I like to keep the kitchen tidy.
Interior, ground floor of the study. The camera faces the door that leads from the study to the hall. The men are carrying the cook's body into the study, effectively blocking off the women's view.
Look!
What?
The body's gone.
Mrs. Ho is dropped.
What are you all staring at?
Nothing.
Well, who's there?
Nobody.
Nobody. No body. That's what you mean. Mr. Body's body. It's gone.
Maybe he wasn't dead.
He was.
We should have made sure.
How? By cutting his head off, I suppose.
That wasn't called for.
Where is he?
We better look for him.
Well, he couldn't have been dead.
He was. At least I thought he was. But what difference does it make now?
Makes quite a bit of a difference to him. Maybe there is life after death.
Life after death is as improbable as sex after marriage.
Maybe Mr. Body killed the cook.
Yes!
How?
Well, if you'll excuse me, I have to, is there a little girl's room?
Oui, madame.
No. I just want to powder my nose. Thank you.
Then is bewildered. Miss Peacock steps over Mrs. Ho's corpse into the hall. Miss Scarlet, wandering around, picks up something.
What's this, Wadsworth?
I'm afraid those are the negatives to which Mr. Colonel Mustard earlier referred.
Were you planning to blackmail him, Wadsworth?
Certainly not. I'd obtained them for the Colonel and I was going to give them back as soon as Mr. Body was unmasked.
Very pretty. Would you like to see these, Yvette? They may shock you.
No, merci. I am a lazy.
Oh, how do you know what kind of pictures they are if you're such a lady?
What sort of pictures are they?
They are my pictures, and I'd like them back, please.
No, I'm afraid there's something in them that concerns me, too.
Let me see.
Matches the pictures and hold them up to the light.
Let me see.
Oh, my. Nobody can get into that position.
Sure they can. Here, let me show you.
Get off me!
Interior, ground floor, the hall, rear. Mrs. Peacock opens the door to the bathroom. She screams. His body falls out of her outstretched arm. He is almost certainly dead now. His head is bloody. The party runs out to help her.
Mr. Body!
He's attacking her.
They pull the corpse off Mrs. Peacock.
Well, he's dead.
Mr. Body, dead. Again?
Oh, my God.
She's going to faint.
Somebody catch her.
I'll catch you. Fall into my arms. Sorry.
You've got blood on your hands.
I didn't do it.
He's got new injuries.
He picks up Mr. Body's arm and lets it fall again.
Well, he's certainly dead now. Why would anyone want to kill him twice?
It's so unnecessary.
What we call overkill.
It's what we call psychotic.
Unless he wasn't dead before.
What's the difference?
That's what we're trying to find out. We're trying to find out who killed him and where and with what.
There's no need to shout.
I'm not shouting. All right, I am. I'm shouting.
At which point, the candlestick, which had been nestled above the bathroom floor, falls and hit him on the head. Wadsworth hits the floor. Interior, ground floor, the study. Mrs. Peacock has evidently recovered somewhat. The women are taking the heavier Mrs. Ho into the room. The men have the lighter Mr. Body. The guests make groans of exertion. Colonel Mustard is issuing orders.
Okay, put the corpses on the sofa. Ladies first.
More sounds of exertion. They plop Mrs. Ho on the sofa. Wadsworth enters, holding ice to his head.
Careful, don't get blood on the sofa.
How do we do this? The Zachary will go for sure in her back.
Tip her forward over the arm. Now, Mr. Body.
More sounds of exertion. Colonel Mustard nods. Professor Plum is stuck on the couch between the two corpses. Rather than move, he decides to make himself comfortable.
Now, who had access to the candlestick?
It was given to you.
Yeah, but I dropped it on the table. Anyone could have picked it up. You, him.
Wadsworth starts going around the room picking up the weapons.
Look, we still have all these weapons. The gun, the rope, the wrench, the lead pipe. Let's put them all in this cupboard and lock it. There's a homicidal maniac about.
He locks the weapons in the cupboard. Everyone states their approval.
It's a good idea.
The police coming. Oh, no, wait. No. What are you doing with the key?
Putting it in my pocket.
Why?
Got to keep it safe, obviously.
That means you can open it whenever you want.
But it also means that you can't.
But what if you're the murderer?
I'm not.
But what if you are?
Well, it's got to be put someplace safe.
We don't know that. We are.
I've got an idea. We'll throw it away.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes?
of course.
Interior, ground floor, the hall, foyer. Wadsworth opens the door and prepares to throw the key out. Waiting outside the door is a man who ducks, thinking Wadsworth is about to hit him. The butler quickly recovers and pockets the key. The rest of the party runs up behind him.
Sorry. Can we help?
Sorry, I didn't mean to disturb the whole household, but my car broke down out here, and I was wondering if I could use your phone.
Just a moment, please.
The party huddles together and discusses it. The motorist looks rather confused. After a time, the group turns to the motorist.
Very well, sir. Would you care to come in?
Well, where is it?
What, the body?
The phone. What body?
Well, there's no body. There's no body. There's nobody in the study.
No.
But I think there's a phone in the lounge.
Thank you.
Interior, ground floor, the lounge. Wadsworth leads the motorist inside and indicates the phone.
When you finished your call, perhaps it'd be good enough to wait here.
Certainly.
Interior, ground floor, the hall. Wadsworth closes the door to the lounge and locks it. Colonel Mustard comes up behind him and puts a hand on his shoulder. Wadsworth yells in fright.
Ah!
Where's the key?
In my pocket.
Not that key. The key to the cupboard with the weapons.
You still wish me to throw it away?
Yes!
Exterior, Hill House, front. Wadsworth takes the key from his pocket and throws it. We see it land on the cement and bounce into the foliage. Interior, ground floor, the hall. Wadsworth closes the door.
Well, what now?
Wadsworth, let me out.
No.
Why not?
We've got to know who did it. We're all in this together now.
If you leave, I'll say that you killed them both.
Yes. Wadsworth. I'll make you sorry you ever started this. One day, when we're alone together...
Mrs. White, no man in his right mind would ever be alone together with you.
Well, I could use a drink.
Yes.
Yeah.
Colonel Mustard goes to the study and looks in.
Just checking.
Everything all right?
Yep. 2 corpses. Everything's all right.
Interior, ground floor, library. Colonel Mustard is pouring himself a tall glass of whiskey.
Anybody else want a whiskey?
Yeah.
Colonel Mustard fills 3 other glasses at once, spilling the drink over the table.
All right, look. Pay attention, everybody. Wadsworth, am I right in thinking there's nobody else in this house?
No.
Then there is somebody else in this house.
No, sorry, I meant no meaning yes.
No meaning yes? Look, I want a straight answer. Is there someone else here, or isn't there? Yes or no?
No.
No, there is, or no, there isn't?
Yes.
Mrs. White breaks her glass against the fireplace.
Please! Don't you think we should get the man out of the house before he finds out what's been going on here?
She tosses the remains of her glass into the air. It shatters on the hearth.
Yeah.
How can we throw him outside in this weather?
If we let him stay in the house, he might get suspicious.
If we throw him out, he may get more suspicious.
If I were him, I'd be suspicious already.
Oh, who cares? That guy doesn't matter. Let him stay locked up for another half an hour. The police will be here by then, and there are 2 dead bodies in the study.
Well, there is still some confusion as to whether or not there's anybody else in the house.
I told you there isn't.
There isn't any confusion, or there isn't anybody else.
Either. Or both.
Just give me a clear answer.
Certainly. What was the question?
Is there anybody else in the house?
No.
That's what he says. But does he know? I suggest we handle this in proper military fashion. We split up and search the house.
Split up?
Yes. We have very little time left, so we'll split up into pairs.
Pairs?
Yes.
Wait a minute. Suppose that one of us is the murderer. If we split up into pairs, whichever one of us is left with the killer might get killed.
Then we would have discovered who the killer is.
The other half of the pair would be dead.
This is war, Peacock. Casualties are inevitable. You cannot without breaking eggs. Every cook will tell you that.
But look what happened to the cook. Oh.
Colonel, are you willing to take that chance?
What choice have we?
None.
I suppose you're right.
Barniker, but it is dark upstairs and I am frightened of the dark. Will anyone go with me?
I will.
I will.
No, thank you.
I suggest we all draw lots for partners.
He takes a long matchstick from near the fireplace. Interior, ground floor kitchen. Wadsworth is using a knife to cut the long matchsticks into different lengths. He prepares them in his hand so that the match's lengths can't be seen.
Ready? The two shortest together, the next two shortest together. Agreed? And I suggest the two shortest search the cellar and so on up.
The guests approach the butler. Colonel Mustard pitches a matchstick. It's relatively short. Mrs. Peacock picks hers. Mustard and Peacock compare. His is longer. Miss Scarlet picks her matchstick with a jerk. Mr. Green reaches over Miss Scarlet's shoulder and gets his matchstick. It is one of the uncut sticks. Colonel Mustard and Mr. Green compare. It's not even close. Yvette selects her stick. It's another long one. Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet compare. They match, putting them together on the ground floor. Miss Scarlet looks disgusted. Mrs. White selects hers. In the background, the party tries to match sticks. Professor Plum picks his matchstick. Wadsworth takes what is left. Mrs. White steps up to Wadsworth and pairs his matchstick. They're going to the second floor. Professor Plum walks by Yvette and a distraught Mr. Green, who are going to the attic together. Plum matches cellar matchsticks with Mrs. Peacock.
It's you and me, honey bunch.
Oh, God.
Interior, ground floor, the hall. We see the party as it splits up. Wadsworth and Mrs. White starts up the stairs, as do Mr. Green and Yvette. Professor Plum and Mrs. Peacock stop, unsure of where to go. Wadsworth pauses on a step and indicates the door under the staircase.
The cellar.
Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet stop in the middle of the hall.
Well, we know what's in the study. We've just come from the library and the stranger's locked up in the lounge.
Let's go look in the billiard room again.
They go to the billiard room. Professor Plum opens the door to the cellar. Mrs. Peacock reaches in and turns on the light. They enter cautiously. Interior, second floor hallway. The storm is still around Hill House, visible from a second-story window. Wadsworth and Mrs. White walk down the hallway. As Mr. Green and Yvette start climbing the stairs to the attic, we hear thunder and rain. Interior, attic, darkness. We don't know exactly where we are. Suddenly, a light turns on. We see Mr. Green and Yvette at the bottom of the attic staircase. Both of them are terrified of what may be above them.
Do you want to go up in front of me?
Absolutely no.
I'm sure there's no one up there.
Then you go on firm.
All right.
Neither move. We hear nothing but the rain on the roof. Interior, cellar staircase, darkness. We barely see Mrs. Peacock and Professor Plum backlit at the top of the stairs. They edge down. Mrs. Peacock gasps.
Well, ladies first.
No, you can go first.
No. I insist.
No, I insist.
Well, what are you afraid of? A fate worse than death?
No, just death. Isn't that enough?
Interior, second floor hallway. Mrs. White and Wadsworth are at the doors of two adjacent rooms. They are looking at each other nervously.
Are you going in there?
Yes. Are you?
Yes. Right.
Right.
I don't see any light switches in there.
Well, neither do I, but there must be switches somewhere.
Shall I come in with you?
No. I mean, no, thank you.
They start into their rooms and then jump out simultaneously, looking for the other. Interior, ground floor, billiard room. Colonel Mustard and Miss Peacock are in the back of the corner bar. They're stooping to look in. They stand, and Colonel Mustard indicates the bar's narrow egress.
Ladies first.
No thanks.
They both head for the exit, and they have to squeeze through. It's a very tight fit. Colonel Mustard walks past Miss Scarlet, who is sure to keep him in sight. He grabs a pool cue from the wall. She gives a little gasp. Colonel Mustard walks over to the pool table and motions with the stick to look under it. They do. There's nothing there. Interior, attic. Mr. Green and Yvette are still where they were. At the bottom of the steps, we hear rain.
Go on, I'll be right behind you.
That's why I'm nervous.
Then we go together.
The two squeeze up the narrow steps. Interior, cellar. Mrs. Peacock and Professor Plum are still inching down the stairs. Mrs. Peacock turns on the light as Professor Plum slips on a step. This frightens Mrs.
Stay
Peacock,
there.
who runs down the remaining steps.
Stay there.
Interior, ground floor, the hall foyer. Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet throw open the closet door. Nothing there. Interior, second floor, master bedroom. Wadsworth is wandering in the dark.
If there's anybody in there, just look out!
Interior, second floor, bedroom. Mrs. White is wandering like Wadsworth.
Are you hiding? I'm coming.
Interior, ground floor, ballroom. Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet are backlit. We see the hall behind them.
What room is this?
Search me.
All right.
Get your mitts off me.
Interior, cellar. Mrs. Peacock sees a rat and screams. Rat crawls away. Professor Plum tenses but starts to look around. Interior, ground floor, ballroom. Colonel Mustard flips on the lights, making Miss Scarlet gasp.
Nobody here?
He's behind one of those curtains.
She points to the curtains at the far end of the ballroom.
You look. I'll go search the kitchen.
Colonel Mustard leaves. Miss Scarlet sighs. She starts to walk slowly towards the curtain. The curtain almost seems to be moving, but it could just be her imagination. Then, there is definite movement off to the right. Scarlet stops in her tracks, trying to scream, but unable to. She continues cautiously. Scarlet reaches the curtains, pauses, and throws them back, revealing a broken window with wind blowing in. Exterior, roadside. It is still raining. We see the motorist car on the side of the road. A cop car pulls up to investigate. Interior, ground floor, the study. We see photographs and papers, as well as the tapes of the conversation Yvette was making up earlier. A gloved hand picks them up. The hand throws the photos and papers into the fire. Then the tape goes in. It all burns. The hand now uses a key to unlock the cupboard with the weapons. But wasn't that key thrown away? The weapons are revealed. Interior, motorist's car. The camera reveals a cop shining his flashlight into the car. Exterior, roadside. As before, we see the cop shining his flashlight into the car. Interior, ground floor. The lodge. The motorist is making his phone call.
I'm a little nervous.
The camera reveals the lounge's fireplace, which is swiveling around.
I'm in this big house, and I've been locked into the lounge. Yes.
The next statements are intercut with the wrench approaching the motorists.
The funny thing is, there's a whole group of people here having some sort of party, and one of them is my old boss from...
The wrench descends. The phone falls to the floor. Then the motorist follows suit. A gloved hand places the phone back on its cradle. She's dead. Exterior, roadside. The cop shines his flashlight on the car's license plate. Then, underneath the car, he walks away. Interior, ground floor, conservatory. Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet stand in the doorway, backlit by the hall. Rain can still be heard, but no lighting. Colonel Mustard switches on the lights. The two look around. The conservatory is dilapidated. There's dust and cobwebs all around. It hasn't been used for quite some time. Miss Scarlet walks to the outer wall of the windows. Rain pours down them. Colonel Mustard walks to one side and picks up something. He then takes a rag and wipes his hands off. While doing so, he leans against the wall and it swings open. He falls down, but quickly gets up.
Looks like a secret passage.
Should we see where it leads?
What the hell? I'll go first. I've had a good life.
Interior, ground floor, conservatory, lounge, secret passage. The secret passage is narrow and the floor is uneven. Miss Scarlet trips and yells in surprise.
Oh, God.
It's all right.
Interior, ground floor, the lounge. Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet emerge from behind the still rotated fireplace. They see the motorist's corpse.
Oh, my God.
The fireplace slides shut behind them. Scarlet panics. She starts yelling.
No!
Interior, attic. Mr. Green and Yvette can faintly hear Miss Scarlet's yells. Interior, ground floor, the lodge. Scarlet and Mustard run to the double doors. They're locked. Now both are yelling. Tons of yelling. Interior, second floor, hallway. Wadsworth and Mrs. White run for the staircase. Interior, second floor, attic, staircase, base. Mr. Green and Yvette run down the attic. Interior, second floor, hallway. The four people collide and go sprawling. Interior, ground floor, the lounge. Miss Scarlet and Colonel Mustard are still banging at the door and screaming. Interior, second floor, hallway, the hall. The four upstairs untangle themselves. Wadsworth and Mr. Green run down the stairs, followed by Yvette and Mrs. White.
Where's it coming from?
Where are we going?
They make it to the ground floor just as Professor Plum and Mrs. Peacock emerge from the cellar.
Where are they?
The lounge!
Wadsworth tries the door. It's locked.
The door's locked.
I know.
Then unlock it.
Where's the key?
The key's gone!
Never mind the key. Unlock the door.
I can't unlock the door without the key. Let us in. Let us in.
Let us out! Let us out!
Interior, ground floor of the hall.
It's no good. Stand back. There is no alternative.
Across the lounge to the study door.
There is no alternative. I'm just going to have to break it down.
The butler runs at full speed for the door. He hits it and falls to the door, holding his shoulder.
I know. I have it.
Interior ground floor of the lounge. The two in the lounge are still yelling.
Will you shut up?
Ground floor of the hall.
Will you shut up? We're doing our best.
Interior ground floor of the hall. Yvette runs out of the study and trips over the still sprawled Wadsworth. The shot goes wild, hitting the chandelier rope. Mr. Green and Professor Plum hit the deck. The chandelier starts spinning. Mrs. Peacock and Mrs. White run into each other. Interior ground floor of the lounge. Mustard and Scarlet are crouched down.
They're shooting at us.
Interior ground floor of the hall. Panic continues. The chandelier continues to spin and the rope is fraying, unbeknownst to the party. Yvette stands and aims at the lounge lock. Plum and Green, who had started to get up, hit the floor again. Yvette fires twice. Both shots hit the door lock. Interior ground floor lounge. Colonel Mustard turns away from the door, holding his shoulder.
I've been shot.
Interior ground floor of the hall.
I've been shot.
Come out. The door is open.
She lowers the gun. So it is carelessly pointing in the direction of Professor Plum and Mr. Green. They scramble out of the way. The lounge door opens and a miraculously unwounded Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet emerge.
Why are you shooting that thing at us?
To get you out.
You know you could have killed us. I could have been killed.
Shot of the chandelier, spinning ever more quickly. The rope is almost completely frayed.
I can't take any more scares.
The rope snaps. The chandelier lands 3 feet in the back of Colonel Mustard. Mustard is in shock. He collapses onto a love seat.
Look!
The party runs across the room, crushing glass as they go.
Which one of you did it?
We found him together.
How did you get in?
It was locked.
It's a great trick.
There's a secret passageway from the conservatory.
Is that the same gun?
From the cupboard?
But it was locked.
No, it was unlocked.
Unlocked.
But yes, see for yourself.
The party runs into the lounge. On the way, Yvette tosses the revolver under the broken chandelier. Interior ground floor of the study. The guests pile in and see that the cupboard has indeed been opened.
How did you know it was unlocked? How did you know that you could get at the gun?
I didn't. I think I would pry it open and it was open already.
A likely story.
The doorbell rings. Cut to. Shot of the doorbell ringing. Cut to the guests freezing in place.
Maybe they'll just go away.
Cut to the doorbell. It is still. Cut to the guests still frozen. The doorbell rings again. Cut to the doorbell ringing. Cut to the guests quite disappointed.
I'm going to answer it.
Why?
I have nothing to hide. I didn't do it. The key. Thank you.
Interior ground floor. The hall foyer. Mr. Green opens the door, revealing the cop.
Good evening, sir.
The door closes in the cop's face. Exterior Hill House porch. View inside. The door reopens.
Yes.
I found this abandoned car down near the gates of this house. Did the driver come in here for any help by any chance?
Well, actually, yes.
No.
No.
There seems to be some kind of disagreement.
No.
Yes.
Can I come in and use your phone?
Of course you may, sir. You may use the one in the... no. You could use the one in the... we can't have to wait in the library.
Sure.
Interior ground floor of the hall. The cop sees Yvette.
Don't I know you from someplace? You all seem very anxious about something.
It's the chandelier. It fell down and must have killed us. Would you like to come this way, please, sir?
Miss Scarlet closes the door to the study suddenly and attempts to look nonchalant. The cop rolls at the sound. Professor Plum does the same to the lounge door. The cop rolls again.
Frightfully drafty, these old houses.
Interior ground floor library. Wadsworth leads the cop in and indicates the phone.
Please help yourself to a drink, if you'd like. Not the cognac, just in case.
Just in case what?
Interior ground floor of the hall. Wadsworth locks the door and turns to the assembled guests.
What now?
Interior ground floor library. The cop tries the door handle. It is, of course, locked. Interior ground floor of the hall.
Should have just told him.
Oh, very well for you to say that now.
I said it then.
Oh, shut
up.
Let's clean this up.
Interior ground floor library. The cop pauses at the door, then walks over to the phone. He reaches for it, but it rings before he picks it up. He answers the phone.
Hello?
Interior ground floor of the hall. All are still.
Maybe the cop answered it.
Interior ground floor library.
And who should I say is calling? Ah. Will you hold on, please?
The cop strides over to the library doors.
Let me out of here! Let me out! You have no right to shut me in. I'll book a false arrest and a wrongful imprisonment and obstructing an officer, of course, on his duty and murder.
Interior ground floor of the hall. The door opens. The party stands there. Wadsworth with broom in hand.
What do you mean? Murder.
I just said it. You'd open the door. What's going on around here? And why would you lock me in? And why are you receiving calls from J. Edgar Hoover?
J. Edgar Hoover?
That's right. The head of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Why is J. Edgar Hoover on your phone?
I don't know. He's on everybody else's. Why shouldn't he be on mine? Excuse me?
What's going on here?
We're having a party.
Mind if I look around?
Sure, you can show him around, Mr. Green.
Me?
Yes, you can show him the dining room, the kitchen, the ballroom.
Oh, fine. Fine. Officer, come with me. I'll show you the dining room or the kitchen or the ballroom.
Interior ground floor dining room. The cop raises the metal partition and looks into the kitchen. Interior ground floor lounge.
Make it look convincing.
Interior ground floor dining room.
So, this is the dining room.
No kidding.
Interior ground floor lounge.
Come on.
Interior ground floor dining room.
What's going on in those two rooms?
Which two rooms?
The cop pushes past him and enters the hall. Interior ground floor of the hall. A couple of guests run frantically across the hall. Just as they leave the room, the cop enters and points at the lounge and the study.
Those two rooms.
Oh, those two.
Yes.
Mr. Green is at a loss. The cop strides towards the study door. Mr. Green blocks the cop's path.
Officer, I don't think you need to go in there.
Why not?
The cop dodges around Mr. Green. The guests block the door to the study with his body.
Because it's all too shocking.
The cop throws Mr. Green aside. Interior ground floor of the study. Music can be heard in the background. It's Life Could Be a Dream on a record player. Mrs. White is on the couch on top of Mr. Body, using her hand to move his arm against her and pretending to kiss him. The cop sees Colonel Mustard and a woman apparently kissing against the far wall in a curtain. The camera reveals that Mrs. Peacock is behind the curtain. Her hands are on Colonel Mustard's back, but Mrs. Ho is propped up between them.
Not that shocking at all. These folks are having a good time.
Cop leaves through the hall. Mr. Green is surprised. Interior ground floor of the lounge. Miss Scarlet pours a drink into the motorist's mouth. The motorist is propped up in a chair, drink in hand. The music can still be heard, but faintly. Interior ground floor of the study. Colonel Mustard and Mrs. Peacock roll Mrs. Ho onto the couch. Oh my God. Interior ground floor of the lounge. Just before the cop enters, Professor Plum takes Miss Scarlet on the couch and begins kissing her. She has no choice but to follow his example. The cop comes in.
Excuse me.
The two lovers get up with a start. The cop notices the motorist. He leans into the dead man's face and sniffs.
This man is drunk. Dead drunk.
Dead right.
You're not going to drive home, are you?
Oh, he won't be driving home, officer. I promise you that.
Yeah.
Somebody give him a lift, huh?
Oh, we'll get him a car.
A long black car.
A limousine.
Professor Plum again lowers Miss Scarlet to the couch. She gives off a little cry of surprise. Interior ground floor of the hall. Wadsworth exits the library. He leans against the door and sighs in thought. The cop and Mr. Green enter the hall. Wadsworth throws off his thoughts and walks to them.
Officer.
You're too late. I've seen it all.
All during this conversation, Mr. Green is standing behind the cop looking at Wadsworth. Green looks mystified but relieved.
You have? I can explain everything.
You don't have to.
I don't?
Don't worry. There's nothing illegal in any of this.
Are you sure?
Of course. This is America.
I see.
It's a free country. Don't you know that?
I didn't know it was that free.
May I use your phone now?
Certainly.
The butler leads the cop to the library once again and locks it. The guests start to emerge into the hall.
Why did I lock him in again? We haven't finished searching the house yet.
Well, we're running out of time. Only 15 minutes before the police come.
Hang on, sorry about that.
The police already came.
Shut up!
Let's get on with it.
Monsieur.
The guests again split up to search the house as the music continues. Interior, ground floor, kitchen. Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet enter. Colonel Mustard suddenly opens the door, only to have an ironing board hit him in the head. Ouch. Miss Scarlet opens the door to the freezer. She grasps one of the meat hooks. It turns in her grip and reveals another secret passage in the back of the freezer. She gives a cry of surprise.
Look! I can't believe it! I wonder where this one goes.
Well, let's find out.
They step in. Interior, ground floor of the study. The music still continues. Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet swing aside a large painting and enter the room from the secret passage. They shrug.
Let's try the ballroom again.
Interior, attic. Mr. Green and Yvette are still poking around in the attic. Interior, ground floor, cellar steps, top. The camera reveals a gloved hand pulling a lever down. All electricity is shut off. The lights go out instantly. And the music stops. Interior, cellar, boiler room. Mrs. Peacock, in the darkness, backs up into the boiler. She thinks it's a person, perhaps Professor Plum, and starts to hit it with her handbag.
Ah, don't you touch me!
Interior, second floor, master bedroom. A gust of wind blows in, shutting a door. Wadsworth yells in fright.
Ah!
Interior, second floor, bedroom. Mrs. White screams. Interior, ground floor, staircase. Yvette is descending the stairs quietly. Mrs. White's scream can still be heard. Interior, ground floor, library. The cop is on the phone.
Hello? Hello?
Interior, ground floor, billiard room. Yvette enters quietly. An off-screen voice can be heard. It can't be identified, even as being male or female. The first line sounds male, the second female. Shut the door. Did anyone recognize you? Suddenly, Yvette's French accent is gone.
They must have, and not just my face. They know every inch of my body. And they're not the only ones.
A noose flies onto Yvette's neck.
It's you!
Interior, ground floor, library. The cop is still on the phone.
There's something funny going on around here. I don't know what it is.
The camera reveals the door handle being silently opened.
No, I'm not on duty. But I have a dangerous feeling. I have a feeling I'm in danger. And you know that big, ugly house on top?
The lead pipe comes down softly on the phone cradle, cutting the connection off. We can see the pipe being raised behind the cop's head.
Hello? Hello? Are you there?
Interior ground floor of the hall. The doorbell is ringing. Views of the guest faces. Interior ground floor of the hall. View outside. The front door opens. A young woman is outside. She is dressed in a uniform and strikes a pose as the door opens.
I am your singing telegram.
Bang! She falls to the ground. The door slams shut. Interior, attic, rear room. Mr. Green, trying to get out, opens a closet. Its contents fall on him. Interior, second floor, bedroom. A jack-in-the-box springs open, frightening Mrs. White. She screams. She screams again. Interior, second floor, master bedroom. Mrs. White's unintelligible yells can be heard.
I'm coming! I'm just trying to find the door!
Wadsworth enters another part of the master bedroom.
Coming!
He gasps the handle.
What is this? Am I at the door?
Twists the handle, starting the shower. He is promptly very wet. Interior, ground floor, staircase. Very wet Wadsworth slushes down the steps. He goes to the entrance to the cellar and pulls up the lever, restoring electricity to Hill House. Thank God. Interior, ground floor, the study. The record player starts again, taking several seconds to get up to speed. Interior, ground floor, the hall. The party, minus Yvette, slowly reassembles in the hall. The song ends. Interior, ground floor, billiard room. The camera reveals the guests looking in from the hall. They see Yvette's corpse sprawled on the pool table, still with the noose around her neck, and they walk off. Interior, ground floor, library. The camera reveals the guests looking in from the hall. They see the cop's corpse hung over the table. The guests stand at the door.
2 murders.
Professor Plum enters the library and picks up the lead pipe.
Neither of them shot. I thought I heard a gun.
I did.
So did I.
I thought I heard the front door slam.
Oh, God. The murderer must have run out.
The guests run towards the front door. Exterior, Hill House porch. The guests open the door, seeing the singing telegrams girl's body. It has a bullet hole neatly through the forehead.
3 murders.
6 altogether.
This is getting serious.
On the web for
They close the door and lock it. Interior, ground floor, the hall. The guests walk onto the main floor.
No gun. Yvette dropped it here. Very well. I know who did it.
You do?
And furthermore, I'm going to tell you all how it was done. Follow me.
He walks to the library. The guests follow. Interior, ground floor, library. Wadsworth addresses the assembled guests.
In order to help you understand what happened, I shall need to take you through the events of the evening, step by step. At the start of the evening, Yvette was here by herself, waiting to offer you all a glass of champagne. I was in the hall. I know, because I was there. Then I hurried across to the kitchen.
He waves to the guests to follow him. Interior, ground floor, kitchen. Wadsworth is running into the kitchen. The guests follow.
And the cook was in here, alive, sharpening knives, preparing dinner, and then...
Interior, ground floor, the hall. Wadsworth springs up to the front door. The guests follow closely. He proceeds to act out events.
And the doorbell rang, and it was you!
Yes.
I asked for you for your coat, and you recognized me as Colonel Mustard, and I prevented him from telling your real name because I didn't want any of you to use the name other than the pseudonym, and I introduced myself to you as the butler, and I ran across the hall to the library.
He does so, with a confused guest in tow. Interior, ground floor, library. Wadsworth imitates everything he describes.
And then Yvette met you and smiled, and poured you a drink.
He runs for the hall. Interior, ground floor, the hall, foyer. Wadsworth heads for the front door.
And the doorbell rang, and it was Mrs. White, looking pale and tragic, and I took off her coat and made off.
They head for the library again. Interior, ground floor, library.
And I introduced you to Colonel Mustard. Hello. And I noticed that Mrs. White and Yvette flinched. Then there was a rumble of thunder and a crash of lightning. And to make a long story short,
Too late.
one by one, you all arrived.
Interior, ground floor, the hall. Wadsworth grabs the gong mallet.
And then the gong was struck by the cook.
He does so.
And we went to the dining room.
Interior, ground floor, dining room. Wadsworth goes around the table, indicating chairs.
And Mrs. Peacock, you sat here. Professor Blum sat here. And Mrs. White sat here. And Mr. Green, Miss Scarlet, Colonel Mustard, the chair was vacant. Anyway, we all revealed we had all received a letter. And you had a letter, and you had a letter, and you had a letter.
Get on with it.
The point is, blackmail.
But this all came after dinner in the study.
You're right.
He heads into the hall. Interior, ground floor, the hall. The party runs across the hall to the study. Interior, ground floor, the study. The butler rushes around the room, pointing at different locations.
Mr. Green stood here, and Miss Peacock here, and Miss Scarlet here, and Professor Plum here, and Colonel Mustard, and Mrs. White, and...
Get on with it.
I'm getting there. And Mr. Body, you got a surprise package from the hall, and then you all opened your presents, and Mr. Body switched out the lights.
Wadsworth turns off the lights. Pause. Everyone screams. The lights are flipped back on. Wadsworth is lying on the floor, and the guests, tired of this act, react with disgust. The butler opens his eyes.
Mr. Body lay on the floor, apparently dead.
He was dead. I examined him.
Then why was he bashed in the head a few minutes later in a candlestick if he wasn't dead already?
All right, I made a mistake.
Right. But if so, why was Mr. Body pretending to be dead? It could only be because he realized his scheme had misfired, and the gunshot was intended to kill him, not me. Look, the bullet grazed his ear. Clearly, his best way of escaping death was to pretend to be dead already.
So whoever grabbed the gun from me in the dark was trying to kill him.
But remember what happened next.
He goes to the door and picks up the glass from a table.
Mrs. Peacock took a drink. You said, maybe it was poisoned. She screams, ah! 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 And Mr. Green I had to stop her from screaming. Then more screaming, Yvette, the billiard room. We all rushed out.
As they do now. Interior, ground floor, billiard room. Wadsworth sits at the pool table. The guests pool around the door.
But one of us wasn't here. Nah.
No?
Nah. Maybe one of us was murdering the cook. Who wasn't here with us?
Do you know?
I do. While we stood here trying to stop him panicking,
he leaves to the study. Interior, ground floor, the study.
One of us could have slayed into the study, picked up the dagger.
Interior, ground floor, the hall. Wadsworth is running down the hall.
Run down the hall.
Interior, ground floor, kitchen.
And stabbed the cook.
He plunged the dagger into a chicken as the guests arrive at the door.
Oh, how could he risk it? We might have seen him running back.
Wadsworth goes over to the freezer and pushes open the back of the freezer, exposing the kitchen study secret passage.
Not if they use this secret passage.
Mrs. Peacock gasps.
And the murderer ran back into the secret passage into the study.
Wadsworth leaves the kitchen for the hall. Interior, ground floor, the hall. The butler is going for the study.
Is that where it comes out?
Yes, look.
Interior, ground floor, the study. Wadsworth pushes open the picture.
What?
How did you know?
This house belongs to a friend of mine. I've known it all along.
So you could be the murderer.
Don't be ridiculous. If I was the murderer, why would I reveal to you how I did it?
Well, who else knew about the secret passage?
We found it, Colonel Mustard and me.
You found it. You could have known about it all the time.
But I didn't.
Well, why should we believe you?
Because she was with all of us in the billiard room doorway while Yvette was screaming, don't you remember?
What I don't understand is why the cook was murdered. She had nothing to do with Mr. Body.
Of course she did. I gathered all of you together because you were all implicated in Mr. Body's dastardly blackmail. Did none of you deduce that the others were involved too?
What others?
The cook and Yvette.
No.
That's how he got all his information. Before he could blackmail anyone, Mr. Body had to discover their guilty secret. The cook and Yvette were his accomplices.
I see. So whoever knew that the cook was involved killed her.
Yes. I know, because I was Mr. Body's butler, and the cook had worked for one of you.
Who?
Oh,
Ooh.
You recognized Yvette, didn't you? Don't deny it.
What do you mean, don't deny it? I'm not denying anything.
Another denial.
All right, it's true. I knew Yvette. My husband had an affair with her, but I didn't care. I wasn't jealous.
You knew Yvette too, didn't you?
Yes, she worked for me.
And you also knew her, sir. We've established that you were one of Miss Scarlett's clients. That's why you were so desperate to get your hands on those negatives. Photographs of you and Yvette in flagrante delicto, remember?
Mr. Body threatened to send those pictures to my dear old mother. The shock would have killed her.
Ha! That would have been quite an achievement since you told us that she's dead already. So he had the motive.
You all had a motive.
But where and when was Mr. Body killed?
Don't you see? Look, when we came back to the study with Yvette, Mr. Body was on the floor, pretending to be dead. But none of us noticed he was alive. So I explained that I was Mr. Body's butler, and I invited you here. And we realized there was only one other person in the house.
The cook!
Wadsworth leaves the guests far behind. Interior, ground floor, the hall. Everyone runs up the hall to the kitchen. Interior, ground floor, kitchen. The guests enter breathless. Mr. Green runs to the freezer just like he did before, but there's no Wadsworth.
Well, where is he?
The freezer door opens. Miss Scarlet screams. Wadsworth, looking quite dead, falls into Mr. Green's arms. The exasperated Mr. Dream drops the butler on the floor. Wadsworth opens his eyes.
By now, she was dead. We laid her down on our backs to the freezer. One of us slipped through the same secret passage.
Again?
Of course, back to the study.
They all run out. Interior, ground floor, the study. Wadsworth acts as if he has just entered the study from the secret passage.
The murderer was in the secret passage. Meanwhile, Mr. Body had been on the floor. He jumped up. The murderer came out of the secret panel, picked up the candlestick.
The butler acts as if he had a candlestick. He goes after Mr. Green, who may not be acting his look of panic. Interior, ground floor of the hall. Wadsworth is pursuing a frightened Mr. Green up the hall towards the bathroom.
Mr. Body followed us out of the study into the hall, looking for an escape. The murderer crept up behind him and killed him.
Wadsworth brings down his hand upon Mr. Green's head. Mr. Green falls.
Would you stop that?
No.
The butler grabs Mr. Green and proceeds to the bathroom.
Then he threw him into the toilet.
No!
Wadsworth leads against the bathroom door frame, pretending to check a watch.
And nonchalantly joined us behind the cook's body in the kitchen. It took less than half a minute.
So who wasn't there the entire time in the kitchen?
Whoever it was is the murderer.
He runs off. The bathroom door opens and Mr. Green emerges, drying his hands. We can hear a toilet flush. He hands the towel to Colonel Mustard. Interior, ground floor of the study. Wadsworth runs in.
And we put the weapons in the cupboard, locked it, and ran to the front door.
He runs out, almost colliding with the just arrived guests. Interior, ground floor of the hall. Wadsworth opens the front door and makes as if throwing the key away.
To throw away the key? The motorist. I didn't throw the key away. I put it in my pocket, and someone could have taken it out of my pocket and substituted another.
We were all in a huddle. Any one of us could have done that.
Precisely.
He slams the front door.
Wait a minute. Colonel Mustard had a top secret Pentagon job. Mrs. White's husband is a nuclear physicist, and Yvette has a link between them.
What is your top secret job, Colonel?
I can tell you. He's working on the secret of the next fusion bomb.
How did you know that?
Can you keep a secret?
Yes.
So can I.
Is this a plot between them, Wadsworth, or did Colonel Mustard do it alone?
We shall see. Let's look at the other murders.
Yes. Bad luck that motorist arrived at that moment.
It wasn't luck. I invited him.
You did?
Of course, it's obvious. Everyone here tonight was either Mr. Body's victim or accomplice. Everyone who died gave him vital information about one of you. I got them here so they'd give evidence against him and force him to confess.
Yeah? What about the motorist? What kind of information did he have?
He was my driver during the war.
And what was he holding over you?
He knew that I was a war profiteer. I stole essential Air Force radio parts and I sold them on the black market. That's how I made all my money. That does not make me a murderer.
Well, a lot of our airmen died because their radios didn't work. Was the policeman working for Mr. Body, too?
The cop was from Washington. He was on my payroll. I bribed him once a week so I could carry on with business. Mr. Body found out somehow.
Oh, my God.
Oh, please.
And the singing telegram girl?
Exterior Hill House, front door, view inside. The rain stopped. The people open the door and look at the singing telegram girl's corpse.
She was my patient once. I had an affair with her. That's how I lost my license. Mr. Body found that out too.
Well, let's put her in the study with the others.
Interior, ground floor of the study. The men drop the singing telegrams girl's bodies on the floor.
So, now you know why they died. Whoever killed Mr. Body also wanted his accomplices dead.
How did the murderer know about them all? I mean, I admit that I had guessed that this young singer informed on me to Mr. Body, but I didn't know anything about any of you until this evening.
First, the murderer needed to get the weapons. Easy. He stole the key from my pocket, and we all followed Colonel Mustard's suggestion that we split up and search the house.
That's right. It was Colonel Mustard's suggestion.
And one of us got away from his or her partner and hurried to the study. On the desk was the envelope from Mr. Body. It contained photographs and letters, the evidence of Mr. Body's network of informants.
Where is the envelope now?
Gone. destroyed. Perhaps in the fire, the only possible place. Aha! Then, having found out the whole story, the murderer went to the cupboard, unlocked it with the key, took out the wrench.
Then we found the secret passage from the conservatory to the lounge. We found the motorist dead.
Interior, ground floor of the hall. Wadsworth frantically acts out the next scene.
That's right, and we couldn't get in, so Yvette ran to the cupboard and shut the door open. Bang! And then the doorbell rang.
The doorbell rings. Everyone freezes in terror.
Oh, whoever it is, they gotta go away or they'll be killed. Oh!
Mrs. Peacock opens the front door. A rather elderly evangelist stands outside, pamphlets in hand.
Good evening. Have you had any thought about the kingdom of heaven?
What?
Repent! The kingdom of heaven is at hand.
You ain't just whistling Dixie.
Armageddon is almost upon us.
I've got news for you. It's already here.
Go away!
But your souls are in danger.
Our lives are in danger, you beatnik!
The cop arrived next. We locked him in a library. We forgot the cupboard with the weapons now unlocked. Then we split up again, and the murderer switched off the electricity. He does so. That's a stage direction.
Everything goes black.
Oh, not again.
Mrs. Waite.
Turn on the lights.
Wadsworth turns on the lights. Interior, ground floor of the hall.
Sorry, I didn't mean to frighten you.
We're back. Hang on. Where are we?
136.
36. The page or the...
It's page 116.
Oh, page 116. Okay.
Whoops, sorry.
All right. You're a bit late for that?
Yep.
Right. You're a bit late for that. I hate when he does that.
And there were 3 more murders.
So which one of us killed them?
None of us killed Mr. Body or the cook.
So who did?
The one person who wasn't with us.
So who did?
Yvette.
Yvette.
She was in the billiard room listening to our conversation.
Cut to flashback of Yvette sitting on the pool table. The following events transpire as Wadsworth described them.
She heard the gunshot. She thought he was dead. And while we all examined the bullet hole, she crept into the study, picked up the dagger, ran to the kitchen, and stabbed the cook.
Yvette stabs Mrs. Ho in the back.
We didn't hear the cook scream because Mrs. Peacock was screaming about the poisoned brandy. The Yvette returned to the billiard room. She screamed. We all ran to her.
Cut to present the hall.
Well, when did she kill Mr. Body?
When I said. We all ran to the kitchen to see the cook. Yvette hid in the study to check that Mr. Body was dead.
Cut to flashback of Yvette hiding behind a chair in the lounge. The following events transpire as Wadsworth describes them.
He got up and followed them down the hall, so he hit him on the head with a candlestick and dragged him to the toilet.
Cut to the present in the hall.
Why?
To create confusion.
It worked.
Why did she do it?
Was it because she was acting under orders from the person who later killed her?
Who?
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 Was it one of her clients? Or was it a jealous wife? Or was it an adulterous doctor? No. It was her employer, Miss Scarlet.
That's a lie.
Is it? You used her the way you always used her. You killed the motorist when we split up to search the house.
How could I have known about the secret passage?
Easy. Yvette told you. So when we split up again...
Cut to Miss Scarlet Glove turning off the electricity.
You switched off the electricity. Easy for you here on the ground floor. Then in the dark you got the lead pipe and the rope, strangled Yvette, ran to the library, killed the cop, picked up the gun where Yvette dropped it, opened the front door, recognized the singing telegram girl from her photograph, and shot her.
Cut to present the hall.
You've no proof.
The gun is missing. Gentlemen, turn out your pockets. Ladies, empty your purses. Whoever has the gun is the murderer.
They all do so. Suddenly, Miss Scarlet pulls out the revolver. She points it at him.
Brilliantly worked out, Wadsworth. I congratulate you.
He shrugs off the praise. Miss Scarlet starts to slowly make her way to the front door.
Me too.
Shut up!
Now, there's one thing I don't understand.
One thing?
Why did you do it? Half of Washington knows what type of business you run. You were in no real danger. The whole town will be implicated if you were exposed.
I don't think they know my real business. My business is secrets. Yvette found them out for me. The secrets of Senator Peacock's Defense Committee, of Colonel Mustard's fusion bomb, Professor Plum's UN contracts, and the work of your husband, the nuclear physicist.
So, it is political. You're a communist.
No, Mr. Green. Communism is just a red herring. Like all members of the oldest profession, I'm a capitalist. And I'm going to sell my secrets, your secrets, to the highest bidder.
And what if we don't cooperate?
You will. Or I'll expose you.
We could expose you. 6 murders?
I hardly think it will enhance your reputation of the UN, Professor Plum, if it's revealed that you've been implicated not only in adultery with one of your patients, but in her death. And the deaths of 5 other people.
You don't know what kind of people they have at the UN. I might go up in their estimation.
Colonel Mustard starts toward Miss Scarlet. She brings the revolver around to bear on him.
It's no good blackmailing me, madam. I have no more money.
I know, sweetie pie, but you can pay me in government information. All of you.
She pauses, then walks to Wadsworth. She points the revolver at him.
Except you, Wadsworth. You, as a mere butler, have no access to government secrets. So I'm afraid your moment has come.
Not so fast, Miss Scarlet. I do have a secret or two.
Oh, yeah? Such as?
Game's up, Scarlet. There are no more bullets left in that gun.
Oh, come on. You don't think I'm going to fall for that old trick?
It's not a trick. There's 1 shot, Mr. Body, in the study, 2 for the chandelier, 2 for the lounge door, and 1 for the singing telegram.
That's not 6.
1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1.
There was 1 shot that got the chandelier. That's 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1.
Even if you were right, that would be 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, not 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1.
Okay, fine. 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus... Shut up! Point is, there's 1 bullet left in this gun, and guess who's gonna get it?
The doorbell rings. Scarlet is distracted by it. Wadsworth turns her arm around, taking the gun and forcing her to kneel on the floor. Mr. Green runs to the door and opens it. Cops pour in. Mr. Green cowers by the closet in the foyer.
Only a guest.
Where's the chief?
The elderly evangelist, the chief, walks in, gun in hand.
Wadsworth, well done. I did warn you, my dear. Mr. Hoover is an expert on Armageddon.
Scarlet's pulled to her feet.
Wadsworth, don't hate me for trying to shoot you.
Frankly, Scarlet, I don't give a damn. As I was trying to tell you, there are no bullets left in this gun, you see?
He pulls the trigger, firing the 6th bullet through the rope of the second chandelier. Wadsworth is perplexed. Scarlet shrugs, embarrassed.
1 plus 2 plus 1
plus 2 plus 1 is...
And the chandelier shatters on the floor in the back of him. The camera freezes. Cut to a card saying, "That's what could have happened." And then another one. But how about this? Cut to interior ground floor of the hall. Wadsworth has just turned on the lights, like at the beginning of ending A.
In the dark, the murderer ran across the hall to the study, picked up the robe and the lead pipe, ran to the billiard room, strangled Yvette, ran to the library, hit the cop on the head with the lead pipe, then coming out of the library, the doorbell rang, it was a singing telegram, the murderer picked up the gun where Yvette dropped it, ran to the door, opened it, recognized the girl from her picture, shot her, and ran back to the cellar.
The cellar?
The cellar?
Yes.
But Colonel Mustard wasn't in the cellar.
No. But you were.
So?
Heard them all. You were the person who was missing when the cook and Mr. Body were murdered. And the cook used to be your cook. Don't you remember your fatal mistake? You told us at dinner that we were eating one of your favorite recipes. And monkey's brains, though popular in Cantonese cuisine, are not often to be found in Washington, D.C.
Is that what we ate?
Why would I have murdered all the others?
Obviously, in case Mr. Body had told them about you.
So it has nothing to do with the disappearing nuclear physicist and Colonel Mustard's work on the new fusion bomb?
No. Communism is just a red herring. Mrs. Peacock did it all.
There's no proof.
Well, the gun is missing. Gentlemen, turn out your pockets. Ladies, empty your purses. Whoever has the gun is the murderer.
Mrs. Peacock opens her purse and pulls out the gun, pointing it at the butler.
Very well. What do you propose to do about it?
She makes her way to the front door.
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing at all. I don't approve of murder, but it seems to me you've done the world a service by ridding it of a appalling blackmailer and his disgusting informers.
Police will be here in any minute. What happens then?
Why should the police come? Nobody's called them.
You mean...
That's right. Now, I suggest that we stack the bodies in the cellar, lock it, leave quietly, one at a time, and pretend none of this ever happened.
Great idea! I'll leave first, if you don't mind.
Mrs. Peacock used the gun to wave the other guests into a group.
Be my guest. In fact, I think we all owe you a vote of thanks. For she's a jolly good fellow, for she's a jolly good fellow, for she's a jolly good fellow. Which
nobody can deny.
I told you I didn't do it.
What if the authorities find out about what happened?
The FBI will take care of that.
You mean?
My phone call from Mr. Hoover. I work for him, of course. How else could I have known everything about all of you?
There's still one thing that I don't understand.
One thing?
Who was Mrs. Peacock taking bribes from?
A foreign power. Her husband, the senator, has influence over defense contracts.
Because they're going to be a cover-up.
Isn't that in the public interest? What could be gained by exposure?
But is the FBI in the habit of cleaning up after multiple murder?
Yes. Why do you think it's run by a man called Hoover?
Exterior Hill House driveway. Mrs. Peacock had her keys out and is getting ready to go into her car. The elderly evangelist steps out onto the driveway.
Oh, Mrs. Peacock.
How did you know my name?
The kingdom of heaven is at hand.
He whips out a gun and points it at her. Floodlights engage and cops pour out of the yard.
Take her away.
Take your hands off me! I'm a senator's wife!
The front door opens to the guests with Wadsworth at their head, pours out onto the porch.
Wadsworth, we got her.
You see? We're like the Mounties. We always get our man.
Mrs. Peacock was a man?
Would anyone care for fruit or dessert?
The camera freezes. Cut to a card reading, but here's what really happened.
Sorry, didn't mean to frighten anyone.
You're a bit late for that.
Then there were 3 more murders.
So who
did it?
Let's consider each murder one by one. Professor Plum, you knew that Mr. Body was still alive. Even psychiatrists can tell the difference between patients who are alive or dead. You fired the gun at him in the dark and missed, so you pretended he was dead. That's how you were able to kill him later, unobserved.
That's right. He was the missing person in the kitchen after we found the cook dead.
But he was with us when in the billiard room when we found the vet screaming. If that was when the cook was killed, how did he do it?
I didn't.
You don't expect us to believe that, do you?
I expect you to believe it. You killed the cook. She used to be your cook, and she informed on you to Mr. Body.
Interior ground floor dining room. Wadsworth enters. The guests stay around the door from the hall.
You made one fatal mistake. Sitting here at dinner, Mrs. Peacock told us she was eating one of her favorite recipes. And monkey's brains, though popular in Cantonese cuisine, are not often to be found in Washington, D.C.
Interior ground floor of the hall. The party re-enters the hall from the dining room.
Colonel Mustard, when we saw the motorist at the door,
Cut to a flashback, the inside of their huddle when the motorists arrived. The following happened as Wadsworth describes it.
You took the key to the weapons cupboard out of my pocket. Then you suggested that we all split up. You separated from Miss Scarlet, crossed the hall, opened the cupboard, took the wrench, ran to the conservatory, entered the lounge with the secret passage, killed the motorist with a blow to the head.
Cut to interior ground floor of the lounge, the present in the lounge.
Like that!
Interior ground floor of the hall.
This is incredible.
Not so incredible as what happens next. After we all split up again, I went upstairs with you. Yes, you, Mrs. White. And while I was in the master bedroom...
Cut to a flashback of Mrs. White hurrying downstairs.
You hurried downstairs and turned off the electricity, got the rope from the open cupboard, and throttled Yvette.
Cut to the present in the hall.
You were jealous of your husband for stooping Yvette. That's why you killed him, too.
Yes. Yes, I did it. I killed Yvette. I hated her so much. It flames on the side of my face, breathing, heavy breaths, heaving.
While you were in the billiard room...
Cut to flashback, the events occurring as the butler describes them.
Miss Scarlet seized the opportunity and, under cover of darkness, got to the library where she hit the cop whom she'd been bribing on the head with a lead pipe.
Cut to the present in the hall.
True or false?
True. Who are you? Perry Mason.
So it must have been Mr. Green who shot the singing telegram.
I didn't do it.
Well, there's nobody else left.
But I didn't do it. The gun is missing. Whoever has the gun shot the girl.
I shot her.
You?
So it was you. I was going to expose you.
I know. So I choose to expose myself.
Please, there are ladies present.
You thought Mr. Body was dead, but why? None of you never met him until tonight.
You're Mr. Body.
Wait a minute. So who did I kill?
My butler.
Shucks.
He was expendable, like all of you. I'm grateful to you all for disposing of my network of spies and informers. Saved me a lot of trouble. Now there's no evidence against me.
So this has nothing to do with all... Oh. That's...
I think we lost Mrs. White, maybe? She's frozen?
Looks like it.
Well, it has nothing to do with her disappearing nuclear physicist husband.
With the new top secret fusion bomb.
No. Communism was just a red herring.
Wadsworth runs to the front door, keeping the revolver trained on the party.
But the police will be here in any minute. You never get away with this, any of you.
Why should the police come? Nobody's called them.
You mean... Oh, my God, of course.
So... That's my favorite line. So why should we get away with it? We'll stack the bodies in the cellar, lock it, leave quietly one at a time, and forget that any of this ever happened.
Mr. Green takes off his glasses and starts to put them in his jacket's inside pocket.
So, you just go on blackmailing us.
Boss, why not?
Well, I'll tell you why not.
He gets a pistol from his jacket and fires. Wadsworth tries to get off a shot, but it's far too slow. The butler is hit.
Good shot, Green.
Wadsworth slides down the closet door to the floor. He looks at the blood flowing out of his chest.
Very good.
Wadsworth dies. Mr. Green stands fully, lowering the pistol. He already looks more confident than he has yet during the night. Mrs. White steps up to him. He points the pistol at her.
Are you a cop?
No, I'm a plant.
A plant? I thought men like you were usually called a fruit.
Very funny. FBI. The phone call from J. Edgar Hoover was from me.
He steps up to the front door and grabs the handle.
Told you I didn't do it.
He opens the front door. Cops pour in. The elderly evangelist follows them in.
Well done, Wadsworth.
So, all right, who done it?
Oh, all right. Who done it?
Well,
it wasn't me.
No, I have nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with this.
They all did it. But if you want to know who killed Mr. Body, I did in the hall with the revolver. Take him away, Chief. I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
Yay!
Oh my god.
It really says a lot when I know that ending by heart. I'm not even looking at the script.
Oh my gosh.
Wadsworth.
Oh,
that was
so much fun.
Oh my god, Davyn, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you guys all so much. You were all incredible. Oh my gosh. I'm like tearing up a little bit. Was it real?
Yes, it was real. You're good. It was fun.
It was really fun. You guys were just so fun to watch.
Incredible casting. Oh my god. So good.
Yeah.
All
also
around
great.
so great. The script's so good.
I'm so
and aside from some light sexism and homophobia, it's still really good.
Exactly. Yeah. It holds up remarkably well.
How many times they say ladies first? It was astounding, and I did not realize until.
And one of the
I
hilarious is they see ladies first to try to get out of going first. It's just like, I don't want to go down
Right.
the dark hallway. It must be ladies first.
And even with the cop interacting with you all, it was kind of like, okay, who am I, which screen am I, like, oh, yes, okay, the business with the phone and stuff like that. Yeah, it was fun. It's a lot of fun.
Y'all were amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Everyone knocked it out of the park.
Fantastic.
I'm just glad I had a crash pad with my bed over here when I had to do pratfalls and everything. I was like aim for the bed, or when I was the only thing I had problems with, if I had remembered it correctly, was the table. I would have literally just done this, to like just stand over here, and then when I'm doing like
The trick is to have your chair be your bed. And then you never have to worry about falling, because then you're always in your bed.
Right.
Adjustable bed.
Very
That's the purchase I ever made.
I wish.
True. So true.
Tim, I knew that you were going to get it spot on with that Tim Curry impersonation. I knew it.
Well, you've seen this movie a zillion times.
We stand Tim Curry in this
We
house.
stand Tim Curry.
Oh yes, we
living your nose.
Everybody was so great. Everybody was so great. You guys, I can't even like I knew going into this that it was going to be like intimidating and big and like and scary, but you guys made it so great. So thank you all.
You're welcome.
This is my first time doing this with you guys, so like I was so fun.
Oh,
fun.
So
you nailed the flames line, Mrs. White.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, that was great.
For sure.
Yes, that was chef kiss.
Great work, everybody. I gotta take off for the night.
Yeah.
Me too.
Thank you so much for reading the stage directions, Izzy.
Not at all.
Amazing.
Bye.
Good night.
Hey, I gotta leave too.
Really
Good night.
pleasure.
Good night.
Guys.
Bye,
See ya.
everyone.
I gotta rename myself so that I don't forget to.
Fun. All right. Good night.
Kids music class.
Night, everyone. Have a lovely
Night.
night.
Have a great night.
Have a good night.
fun. Thank you again.
guys.
for letting me play Mr. Green.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you,
Good
Davyn. That
night.
was so much fun.
Thank you.
Bye.
That's great. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Yeah, bye. I think that pretty much wraps us up for everybody here. So, Matt, how do I wrap things up here? Do I just end the stream? End the meeting? I think so.